Hello, this is Isaac from Turn Sounds. Always use both hands when climbing a ladder.
Welcome to Just Keep Walking. This is a podcast focused on the Walking Dead TV show, and today we're going to be reviewing and discussing Season 10, Episode 20, I believe we're on now, called Splinter. And thank you for joining. I'm your host, Ben. I'm joined by...
Liam.
And...
Isaac, still here.
Still
Really liking this intro, as always.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Good intro.
No, it's a good one. So shout out to my brother Lockie for doing the first little... the little jazzy version of the Walking Dead music, and then this is just some random royalty-free stuff. So shout out to whoever made this. But yeah, anyway, we are gonna just dive into pretty. Whoa, mate, you complimented it, and you just killed the vibe.
I have failed you.
Oh no. That's all good.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. All good. So what we're doing today, we're going to get into our first thoughts of the episode, then go into a little bit more of an in-depth review. Then at the end, we'll just chat about some random stuff. But yeah, essentially, we like to just dive straight into things. So spoiler alert.
Spoilers ahead.
Thank you.
All thrown off now, I'm sorry.
That's all good. That's all good. We like it a bit loose here. And as always, this is produced by Turn Sounds. So if you'd like to find out about any of our other podcasts or get in touch for questions or suggestions, just head to turnsounds.com and we'd love to hear from you. So
Nice.
Don't know, now you know.
now you know. Now you know. Well, Liam, why don't you start us off? Could you let us know what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
Ooh, I really liked it.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised that I liked it, given that it wasn't a massive episode. Not a whole lot happened.
Sure, yeah.
But really getting to explore Princess a bit more was cool. Like seeing the PTSD and actually hearing her rattle off like ADHD, PTSD, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Like, this is really interesting. But it was, I found it really fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah, enjoyable
like
to
it.
watch.
All right, awesome. Isaac.
Could I actually throw it over to you first, Ben?
Yeah, sure thing. No worries.
Yeah, you always go last on these. So.
All good. Same. Hey, I really liked it. There's definitely, I thought it could have been better in a lot of areas. Probably my main criticism would be that it felt like sort of half an episode, and there should have been maybe something else, whether it's seeing some of her past in flashbacks or seeing what the other characters were up to getting interrogated. So I would have liked for maybe there to be something else that happened in the episode, but being what it is, I really liked it for what it was. And I think that's the thing that a lot of these sort of bonus episodes are doing well, is just if you just take it for what it is, it's its own movie, it's its own individual story, then I think it did it quite well. And it certainly sort of had a lot to say, had some different themes to explore there, a lot of metaphors and stuff similar to last week, and just really shot really well. You know, it's in a box, so yeah, it seems like there's not much you could do with it, but I thought got really creative. I was always sort of admiring the shots and the lighting and all that. It just looked nice to watch. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Definitely, I wasn't bored at all. So yeah. There we go. Isaac.
Cool. Yeah, exactly that. I had a feeling that both of you would kind of sum up what I had to say. So,
Right.
but I think we were teased a little while ago that we were going to get like a princess episode, right?
Yeah.
And so my concern was that if they were pretty much leaning on just one character, was it going to be boring? Was it going to be over the top? You know, what we're in for. I think that there was a nice balance here. I kind of liked that there weren't cutaways of her past. I think that's a bit of a motif of this show at the moment.
That's fair.
I do like that there was a lot of dialogue, and her acting skills really shone through in a lot of these things. So many parallels between what she was describing, her darkened past, and then that reflecting into the future. You know, we'll talk about all that. But yeah, I felt pretty satisfying. It felt short. It was over before I was ready.
It was actually definitely. It's probably the shortest episode of the whole show so far as I'm aware. It was 37 minutes, where they're usually 42 minutes. So And last week was longer than usual, so I guess it sort of balances out.
You see,
that's
Ben-
like average.
Ben is so passionate about these things that I just imagine you're there with your watch as the episode.
It says it on the thing, but before you press play, yeah.
Wait a minute, taps the watch. Something's not right here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, well that's good to know then, at least that it actually was short and didn't just feel short.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, so yeah, I mean, yeah, it was good. Hey,
Yeah.
so there we go. So let's dive into a little bit more in depth on a few things. Maybe just a couple of like general things before we go through plot points. The music again. Each episode of these bonus ones, they're really doing something different. They don't sound similar at all because they're all sort of obviously completely different settings and characters. So I'm enjoying that. You're sort of getting very different instruments. Last week, I forgot to say this on the podcast, but last week was probably my favorite as far as music goes.
Wow.
The 4 we've had so far, at least. Not the whole series necessarily, but very much flavors of The Last of Us, I felt, in last week's one. If you go back and listen to that, if you're familiar with the Last of Us soundtrack, there's some similar sort of sounds there. But yeah, and then this week just brought some like kind of like weird, I don't know how to say it. Like it felt like something was a bit off in the sense of, off notes and things like that, which was exactly how you should have been feeling because a lot of it was hallucinations and stuff like that. So yeah, did you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, similar to when we were talking about Maggie's theme, the notes don't sound delicate. They sound like they're twanged or like they're like hit. It doesn't sound like a clean note, even if it is in tune or on the right sort of scale. It doesn't feel delicate is really the only way I could put it.
Sure.
And going in with that boxed in feeling, everything doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
That's how it felt for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And did you guys notice anything as far as like, I don't know, cinematography or
Big
just
time.
Yeah. Any comments on that before we sort of go on with the story?
I am still very fresh to this whole gig.
No, that's all good.
Yep.
No, fair.
Sorry, could you turn that up a bit? I meant to press this button.
okay.
Fresh.
There you go.
Fresh.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. Any other?
Yeah, establishing shot, really. Before we hit to the title card where she's sitting in the corner, and it's from a top-down view, I believe, where she's in the bottom left-hand corner, and you just see there's all this space around her, and she seems really, really small because she's sat against the wall and then she's crouched down. So it very much feels like she's in a box. If you were to open up a box and look down, that's how she looks.
Yeah, definitely.
Clever.
I like it. And even when the guy's like interviewing her, you have the light behind him, so his face is sort of in shadow, and it just looked cool. I liked a lot of what they did with that, and even somehow, however they managed to do it, getting the light coming through the crack when she's sort of talking to Yumiko and stuff like that, it definitely looked really nice. So there we go. Yeah, so at the start, we've got, obviously we just pick up straight from where we left off in episode 16. So two things here. One is that, did you guys notice that we didn't see Yumiko's face at all in this episode? Did that stand out?
Sort of.
Apart from being blurred in the background when she gets hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is because I thought they did this really well. It was like not really too noticeable unless you're looking for it. But that the actress, I think she lives in London, and there's something to do with her the laws of travel and stuff at the moment. Her not being able to come over to Atlanta to film. So yeah, you hear her voice, which they can obviously just record there, and then they had a body double. So you see her from behind in a few shots, and obviously with the bag over her head at the end. But yeah, the actress wasn't there. So I thought that was pretty clever.
They didn't get it past you, did they?
Well, I saw it on Instagram, so yeah, no, that wasn't me.
Yeah, clever.
Yeah.
I actually thought that they did that to add to the whole, was she really talking to Yumiko at any point
That's
at
what I
all?
Well, it definitely works for that as well. Absolutely, yeah. Because you get that with all the other characters, really. Yeah, but I suppose one criticism though, which just threw me off at the start, it felt a bit weird, like to get into it, was that until one line at the very end, that whole scene where Princess is like yelling Yumiko and don't touch her and all that. Every time she says something, you don't see her actually saying it. It like cuts away. So you see a close up of her face not saying anything. And then it cuts away to something else happening and you hear her talking. It just felt weird, but that was just a random critic. Did you guys get that at all? Or no?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, that's good. It's probably just me being nitpicky. There we go. Okay, but yeah, as soon as we got past that, then sort of to the, like you said, that overhead shot. I suppose, yeah, she's having that conversation with Yumiko, and right away we get into all this stuff with the splinter and the jaw. I guess were sort of the two main like things, which were pretty like obvious as far as symbolism goes, I suppose.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any like I don't know, takeaways or sort of what did you get out of that whole splinter analogy? If you have any thoughts.
Ooh, good question.
Put you on the spot a bit there, sorry.
Deer in the headlights moment.
Yeah, all good.
Honestly, I didn't really get a whole lot of symbolism out of it, but I wasn't
that's
looking
fair.
for it.
Yeah.
Like further past just her hand infection as a child.
Yeah. Well, because I suppose, obviously, you know, she's talking about having a splinter in the past and she's got one now. Like I still don't quite know like exactly what it's saying, but like something along the lines of she talks about, you know, she had it and then it didn't have enough time to heal and then she went to school or whatever and it got infected even worse. So things like that in the sense of like being a metaphor for her mental health and that she's sort of healing and now this thing comes and sort of knocks her up again and well, knocked up means something else, I suppose. So that wasn't a right words, but you know what I mean. And similar with the jaw, she talks about her dad like punched her in the jaw and then the guy knocks her with the gun across the face and sort of refractures the same thing. So a lot of, I guess, just bringing her back to all that PTSD, and I suppose that's kind of what it's getting at. I don't know. There we go.
Yeah, no, that's true. And similar to her line, "I'm never gonna let anybody hurt me again."
Yeah.
Comes close to the same point where she actually gets the splinter out finally and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, look, I got rid of the splinter." Similar kind of thing. You have a thing that's bugging you, which is bad for you,
Absolutely.
and she's taking care of it. Reaching a little, but kind of. You can draw whatever you want, really.
Well, yeah, there's definitely, it leaves it open for interpretation. So, yeah, I thought that was cool. But one thing, I want to play you a clip from episode 15 that blew my mind. I watched this twice. Like the second time, I was just like packing camera gear and stuff. So, but she says early on, you remember she's going through, like, she's just counting numbers to calm herself down, and then she's going through the capital cities and just listing them all. And she gets to Harrisburg and says, Harrisburg. Oh, I did know that. Which I'll just play this clip real quick from episode 15, and I think it'll blow your mind a bit.
I never hallucinated before, but there's a first time for everything. Say something I wouldn't know, like, what's the capital of Pennsylvania?
Harrisburg.
Did I know that? I think I knew that. Ha! Maybe I am hallucinating. Wow. Hey.
Yeah. So right at the start, you get that. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Bam.
That's diehard information right there.
Yeah. I thought that was cool right at the start, and then she ends up hallucinating the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. There we go. Nice little Easter egg. But yeah, so we then get to, she discovers the hole in the corner and goes and chats to Eugene, who upon second viewing, I'm like 100% sure he was a hallucination. Did you guys feel like he and Yumiko were hallucinations, or how did you feel about it first viewing?
I wasn't too sure. I had a feeling Yumiko was, but I wasn't 100% sure about Eugene.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the detail then that I picked up, watching it the second time, which I didn't notice the first time, is that when she snaps out of the King Ezekiel hallucination, she looks around the car and looks behind her to where the hole was in the corner,
Yeah.
and it's just like a normal wall. There's no hole at all. So,
Yeah.
and Eugene sort of said the quote of "just do what I say." I think that was the quote, and
Yeah.
everyone said that to her, and so it's kind of like
Yep.
all the different voices in her head. So yeah.
Little nitpick with that. So, assuming that the door was real at the time when we thought it was,
Yeah.
the patch in the wall that she rips off.
Mm.
When you're doing that, you're being sneaky. What do? You poke your head through first. Look around.
Yeah, what she did, put her feet
Yeah,
out.
both times she opens it and then gets out legs first. I'm like, someone could have been right there. You would have been spotted. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
absolutely.
Can't be risky like that. But, yeah.
So I guess a lot of those things, like once you know it's a hallucination, then that justifies it a bit. But still, in the moment, you go, "No, what are you doing?"
Doing it wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now that the whole hallucination reveal, like as far as everyone is concerned, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, okay, yes, she did get interviewed by that guy.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's a fair question. Did that even happen? But,
Yeah, I'd assume so.
Mm.
But then everything past that, I don't know.
Mm.
And even the fact that the dude who she like handcuffs,
Yeah.
and we're so sure by the end of it that he was a straight up,
Yeah. Yeah.
straight arrow, whatever the phrase is.
I don't know what the phrase is.
Then he was a rat the whole time,
Yeah.
willing to be beaten to death apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very confused about that, to be honest.
too.
And I suppose it's supposed to leave you confused to some extent because, it leaves on a big cliffhanger where you're not quite sure where it's going. So I guess we're going to have to wait a bit for answers. But yeah, it was... do you think, like, the whole thing was a plan in the sense of... because we know she handcuffed him and then went out with the gun and tried to escape under the fence. And that was real because we saw the cutaway to the walkers then afterwards, sort of without her in the frame, which would very much imply that that's real.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Whoa.
We're jumping around a bit, but yeah.
Okay, so this whole thing makes way more sense. So the first thing we see with those two walkers is they're dressed up just like how she arranged them before. Like one's a police.
Yeah. Well,
a
I think
policeman.
they're train conductors and stuff
Oh,
because they're in
okay.
a train yard.
Right. Yep.
Mm.
And you've got Ezekiel in the middle with his hands around both their shoulders, right? And he's
Yeah.
just talking, blah blah blah. Then when she walks away,
Mm.
their cutaway is that they're both like their necks are both attached
Yeah,
together
they've got
with
a
like
yoke or something. Yeah.
some kind of stocks or something.
Yeah.
And so like that's why they were both standing together and she was hallucinating Ezekiel and like
Mm.
I've just realized that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool little detail. But yeah, I suppose because you go back and question, was the whole thing a hallucination and what parts of it are real? But I think because then when she walks away, then when it cuts back to the walkers to show that they were actually there and they looked different, that tells me at least that that's real. But yeah, do you reckon like that whole thing was sort of a plan and they were watching her the whole time? They planned for her to kind of escape and take advantage of this guy, or I don't know, because they seem like they're just waiting outside at the very end and know how it's all happening.
I left with far more questions.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
Nah, same.
Like, even the information they wanted from her didn't really make sense. Like, they wanted
Yeah.
a name,
Mm.
like really basic stuff. Like, where are you from? Where did you come from beforehand? That I can sort of understand.
Yeah.
But
Well, like
Yeah, it
all
didn't
of
add up.
all of these protocols, like for people like the CRM and stuff like that, that we
Mm.
still don't even know about. Where do the helicopters come from? Like,
Yeah, sure.
I think there's allowed to be this mystery behind these militias that we don't understand.
Mm.
Quick question I have for the
Yeah.
both of you: do you remember there being red anywhere in the armor in our first viewing of them when we thought that they were just paintball guys? You remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that they had just white armor on. That was it. Do you remember it being detailed with red?
It
no.
no, yeah. I couldn't tell you where the red was, but I feel like there was more than just white.
Okay.
It's I remember there being some details. Yeah.
Because otherwise they listen to our podcast and went, yeah, it needs to be a bit more color in there.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No, I can't remember completely, to be honest.
Well, look, I'm red green colorblind, so
Uh,
I was saying.
well, there are stripes now, so there's like detailing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. My point, that all that is to say is that I think they look less silly up close.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the line she says? Like that you look like a giant scary action figure or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Anyway, so coming back to the Ezekiel scene when we first see him, and it seems legit enough for the most part until he kind of like the guard comes in and he just disappears and then he jumps out of nowhere. It's like, oh, what's going on there? Where was he hiding? And then starts beating the guy up, and you notice that he's got this blood splat on his face, and then Princess has the exact same splat. It's like, what? How did that happen? And finally it clicks. So yeah, I thought that was quite clever, at least the reveal of how that unfolded. But yeah, Liam, why don't you let us know what did you think of that whole scene and the reveal?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. The only critique I have would be I can't stop thinking about how did she actually overpower this guard? Because you look at it, the guard's looking at her, giving her food, and then Ezekiel appears out of nowhere and clobbers this dude on the noggin, and down he goes. Like, how did she pull that off? Like, it's all well and good to hallucinate Ezekiel doing that, but did she like take off her jacket and arrange it in such a way that dude's like, "Oi, what are you doing down there?"
I kind of might have something for that.
Yeah.
If you go back and you look at the framing of that shot, how to do this for the listeners.
That's all right.
If where the guy was standing, the officer, was where the cameraman or the camera operator was.
Yeah.
She's like walking towards, saying, "Look, I'm sorry, this is all disorientating. We're all really scared." And she's walking closer and closer, and there actually comes a point where you see her hands get quite close to what feels like the very lens of the camera.
Yeah,
so it feels
she's
like
got her arms out, right?
Yeah, and so she could well have just boof while she was that close.
Yeah.
And that's like how that happened. And that would have, I was kind of foreseeing that happening from her anyway.
Yeah,
And the
okay.
Ezekiel thing threw me off.
Right.
But yeah, go back and look at the framing of that. I was like, oh, she's doing something. What's she doing? Get back. Like if I was the officer, I'd be like, nah, that's close enough. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes a bit of sense then. I was actually on the same page. I thought she's going to smack him in the face.
Yeah.
Ezekiel came and all right.
'Cause
you do you, buddy.
For both of you, didn't it seem quite out of character for Ezekiel to just
Yeah.
be laying into this guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
As soon as Ezekiel started smacking into him, I'm like, that's like she's crazy. She's hallucinating.
Although for a second there, when he was saying, "You're not going to hurt me again" or something like that,
Yeah.
then for a second I was like, he's lost Carol, he's lost the kingdom, all this stuff. Maybe he's just really reckless now. Like I was buying it for half a second, and then the reveal happened like 5 seconds later. But yeah, part of me would believe it if it sort of had a bit more development after that, maybe. Yeah.
Because he's cuffed, and then he brings him back up, and they start asking him questions. And what if this? Come on, Isaac. This is the kind of episode where the more it wants you to go back and watch it again to look at all the random things that happen which are out of place.
Definitely.
Like if you notice as well, the officer says something like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for letting you.
For letting some chick overpower me.
Yeah. I was kind of like, well, it wasn't. It was Ezekiel, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
but then, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's some girl or whatever.
Yeah.
But he specifically says,
Yep.
girl. Yeah. Yeah, that's clever. Hey, you're right. Definitely lots of little details like that. That's cool. So I think that's about it, really. Is there any, it was fairly straightforward as far as, only a few sort of key events. But any other thoughts that you guys had or things you wanted to touch on?
Quite a few, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it. I'm probably forgetting a lot too.
Yeah, so we're constantly re-showing the shot of her looking at like the baton on the guard's hip where she goes to reach for it and she misses it. Why do you reckon that like is playing over and over again in her memory?
Well, I would probably say that did happen, and she's like going over it because she's blaming herself for sort of the way things went down, and particularly with Yumiko, like she definitely blames herself because she, you know, got angry and tried to have a go at the guy. Then they, you know, whacked Yumiko in the head. So I'd say that that's part of just the mental health thing, and maybe that's like the splinter as well, that she's got this thing, she's just blaming herself for everything in her head. Maybe, but I don't know, to be honest.
Liam?
Good point. I'd probably agree. I can't think of any other reason other than just the self-sabotage, blaming.
Well, and I guess that's brought her PTSD back as well, like being abused and things like that. But yeah, did you have any?
No, maybe some of the similar things. Like, I don't even think she saw Yumiko get hit in the head. She just saw her go down, like with guards, and get dragged away. And so I don't know if she was thinking like, oh, if only I had grabbed actually and not missed that. I don't know if it was a gun or a baton or whatever it was, a knife. If things would be different if I hadn't messed up, type mentality. So yeah, maybe some of that.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, one other thought as well, right from the start, when you're inside the train car, instant like Terminus vibes, hey? Which
Straight away.
we didn't actually see Eugene in this episode, I suppose, because it was just a hallucination. So I definitely, because Eugene was the only guy who was there for that back in season 5, who was in the train car at Terminus. So
Right.
yeah, I don't know if they'll do anything, but it'd be cool to see like him sort of, I don't know, yeah, just referencing that or having some kind of realization of, or trying some of the same tricks they did, maybe make a shiv out of the wood, something like that. Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, what else did you have, Isaac?
You look at the train carriages themselves.
Yeah.
This was playing through my mind, and I don't know. So she's talking, when she thinks she's talking to Yumiko, and she's saying, all right, I'm going to find a way to get to you, you know? And she starts tearing away at the wood.
Yeah.
And I think she like grabs on and starts to try and pull it or something like that. If you look at the way that the wood is actually, and this is like a silly
Sure.
point, okay? If you look at the way that the wood is actually attached to the frame, it's attached from the outside, right? Onto the frame of the, which means you on the inside have a lot better chance of kicking the wood and trying to pop the nails than you would trying to pull it.
Right, right.
Much harder from the outside trying to come in, because nails are a lot stronger that way. But as soon as you apply, like, even if they're screws or something, it's just, they're wooden planks, so they would break, you know.
Yeah.
Good heel kick to it. And I was kind of like, would have been nice to see her at least try that and then, you know, maybe fail, so it ticks that box. Okay, she tried that already, but...
No, that makes sense, yeah.
Because they look like older train carriages anyway, so...
Yeah, and probably the wood after all these years, maybe eaten out by termites, and hey, who knows? Yeah, it's a good point, though. You do think about those things, especially when there's like limited options. There's only so many things you can try. You know, it is good to see it, but yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go for it.
I only had one other point,
Sure.
which was, it was interesting that pretty much all the characters that she runs into, except for Ezekiel, are the ones who are trying to say, don't do anything, stay right where you are. Like you get Eugene, who says, go back, we're going to, you know, they're testing our metal or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And then you get Yumiko saying, I need you to not call for help, not say anything at all.
Yeah.
Just stay right where you are, and that's fine. And then, confusingly, you have Ezekiel saying pretty much the opposite. Let's go, let's get out of here. We'll pick up, we can fight our way out. Like, defiance, everything, you know, to the last. So,
Yeah.
being that all of that was up in her head, is that just like an angels fighting with demons type thing, or...
Yeah, I would say so. Hey. No, go for it, Liam, if you
No,
want.
I was about to say
Yeah,
the same thing.
Yeah, no, I don't know if they would represent like specific people or anything like that, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I suppose I don't know if Eugene and Yumiko said something a bit different, and all three of them were like unique parts of her psyche or whatever she was thinking. But yeah, they definitely all played on sort of different insecurities and stuff like that. Hey, and Eugene saying like, "Don't mess this up for us" and stuff like that. You know, I suppose that makes a lot of sense that they're all sort of her demons and she's just putting faces to them. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
trouble
makes-
with an episode like this, focusing on pretty much one character in one spot, it's hard to talk about for any length of time. isn't
Sure,
it?
yeah. we
Very
don't
true.
have to, but yeah. No, that's cool. Although I do like that. I suppose, if we'd been seeing this from all the characters' perspective and learning more about this community and stuff like that, then it'd be a lot harder to go back and look at these interactions and think about which ones were hallucinations and sort of the imagery and stuff like that. So I think it definitely sets out what they were planning to do with this episode, and we have learned more about Princess as well, which is
Yeah.
great, and we probably wouldn't have. She might not have had as much spotlight otherwise. So I suppose just looking at all these bonus episodes in general, which obviously we've got still 2 more to go, but they're very much a mixed bag as far as what they're doing. Like, they all feel completely different with tone and the sort of episode they're going for. If you just watch this one, you'd think they're doing like really small stories and just focusing on a single character and stuff like that. But then the Gabriel and Aaron episode, you could have just put that in the middle of a season and it would have felt like a normal episode. So yeah, it's a bit mixed. Hey, but how are you feeling overall? Did you feel any of them were jarring as far as expectations versus how it played out as a bonus episode?
We all
No.
know it. We know it. The
Well, yeah.
episode that didn't live up to the hype.
Sure, yeah.
But other than that, yeah, they've been great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that one episode.
Mm.
Jarring is not the word I would use.
No, fair.
Boring. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess for this one, like coming off the heels of last week, which was awesome and, really, it felt really high budget and everything. It took me a minute to get into this one and just go, okay, all right, we're not doing anything outside of just this character in a box, just exploring, a few things about her psyche and all that. And so it took me a minute to adjust because we'd had so many sort of different things going on in the previous episodes. But once I was able to take it just for what it was, then I really liked it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, all of these, they're not extended episodes, certainly not this one, but added episodes. Is that what
Yeah.
we're calling them?
Bonus episodes,
Bonus.
extended season, yeah, however you
Cool.
want to say it.
They're really highlighting something which you said a while ago, and something that I actually said to my Shelby, my wife,
Yeah.
the other day when she was like, how are you still watching this zombie show?
Right.
And these episodes really highlight this. It's not really a zombie horror show, like you've mentioned. It's more of a character drama.
Yeah, absolutely.
And these episodes, even the kind of boring one, really did highlight that. We're taking a deep dive into certain characters, seeing how they work with each other, some past, some present problems, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mixed into a
absolutely.
zombie world.
Absolutely, yeah. And I definitely, I really like that. That's what this kind of world, brings out all these problems and conflicts that, it just gives you a chance to explore things where there's no laws and morals and so it's a cool world. And I suppose, the zombies definitely just they had a fun factor to it. Like, if you're just in an empty world, like The Road, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that.
No, not
It's
yet.
it's a much sort of bleaker movie, and it's sort of like after a nuclear fallout or something like that. So it's just sort of everything's dying. There's just sort of no life in the world, and it's all right. But having this element of zombies just it adds a bit more conflict and more interesting survival challenges to overcome. So for the fun aspects, it's a good mix anyway. That was a bit rambly.
That's all right.
Yeah, there we go.
While we're kind of on the topic, though, if
Yeah.
I might,
Go for it.
I don't know if you've seen the ads for Disney Plus, how they brought out Star, the latest sort of thing with all of
Yeah, and I have seen the ads. Yes.
how they're trying to do a zombie show.
Yeah.
So something called, I think, 28 Days Later or 18 Days Later or something.
28 Days Later is a movie.
Yeah. There's a series that's coming out.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that.
I don't know if they're related or not, or if it's something else.
Okay.
But there is yeah, from what I understand, they're doing like a Disney Plus.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
There you go.
No, neither do I.
I've seen just one ad on TV of like a pile of zombies or whatever. So just like people dressed up as zombies saying like, oh, have you checked out Disney Plus or whatever? And they're like, oh, it's got all these zombie movies on it. And I think it's just a way of saying, hey, now we've got like scary adult movies as well, not just kids movies. Yeah, it was a bit weird anyway. So yeah, no, I'll keep an eye out for that if that's a thing though. Who knows?
Yeah, me too.
We'll see.
Is 28 Days Later any good?
Yeah, it depends who you ask. Liam's nodding his head, yes.
Yep. I
Cool.
liked it.
All right.
Yeah,
Had its flaws, but
yeah.
overall it was
I
good.
didn't really get into it, but I know it's quite highly regarded. So yeah, it's probably just me.
All right.
Give it a shot. Yeah. Yeah, and one last thought actually relating to that is that this is apparently the first episode with no killing in it at all. No walkers or people died.
First episode ever.
Yeah. There we go.
wow.
Damn, if that ain't the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's plenty where no people died, but there's always at least like one walker who gets killed. So
Yeah.
there you go. Fun fact for the day.
Well, that guard nearly bought the farm.
Almost, yeah. Yeah, cool. So, any last thoughts, or happy to wrap it up there?
Do you reckon the gun really wasn't loaded? Or that was a lie?
Ah,
Good question. Very good question.
yeah, I reckon it wasn't loaded because, yeah, whatever was going on, it seems like they were in control to some extent. Like at the end when he said, "All right, I've got it, guys," then you know they knew that he was going in there and that was potentially going to happen. So yeah, I would say it was empty.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. My response to that?
Yeah.
Who cares? There,
You
no, no. The reason being, on the tip of that gun was a sick bayonet, like a full-on blade at the tip of it. Like, okay, it's empty. Stab, stab, stab. away.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did pick
Fair.
up on that too. I'm like, ah, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
What you've got is a very sharp blade with like textile grip handles, a lot of force behind it. Jab.
That's true. Yeah.
And Princess wielding it.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been hilarious. Like
Yeah.
gross, but hilarious.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I mean, she's kind of crazy. She's got
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
stuff
Like, can you
going-
imagine? Like she pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
Oh well, I guess that didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy times. There we go. Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah. Good episode. Definitely not like a favorite, I wouldn't say, but it was good. It was an enjoyable 37 minutes of TV.
You're still hung up on that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Maybe if they'd taken the extra 5 minutes.
Quick maths. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's probably not. If they'd taken the extra 5 minutes, okay, they're all there
Yeah.
in the lineup with their sacks on their head.
Mm.
If the potential bad guy strolls out and gives us like a 1 minute monologue about something, blah, 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 evil, villainy, or, you know, we just had to test whatever, I don't know. The sacks on the head doesn't look good, okay? But, you know, he has some kind of a monologue, the sacks all come off, and then cliffhanger, ending.
Yeah, okay.
Is it a
Yeah.
bad group though? Like, yes, it leads us to think they're dodgy, rah, 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 rah. Maybe it's their protocol. I mean, the way I pictured the ending is like we're sort of in the same position we were in at the original finale.
Exact same position.
Yeah.
Like you could, you know, aside from learning more about Princess, you could skip
Yeah,
the episode
exactly
and just
right.
pick up wherever they.
So I thought, are they? Yes, the methods they're using could be very questionable if they're not the bad guys. But if they're just doing what they do to try and break these characters to say, all right, let's get these eggs to crack so we can figure out if they're actually safe or not. That sort of makes sense a bit to me.
Am I a little bit crazy in saying though, like Liam, you work with like youth and stuff like that all the time, like
Yep.
and would know how to like de-escalate certain situations if you had to, if there was conflict or something like that. If you're detaining people because it's part of a process, do you not at least hand them a slip of paper or say to them, look, this sucks for you, but this is our protocol. You might be murderers. We just need to get to the bottom of blah, 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 like reassuring things like that rather than zero contact.
Yeah, bring out the worst in everyone. Yeah.
Like there's also like some other darker things. Like, I don't know, again, did any of this happen? I don't know, but they like strip Princess off like to check for bite marks. And
Yeah.
like, that's really invasive. That's not like,
Yeah.
The classic Rambo shower.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, context is key, I suppose. If you don't want them to know that, don't tell them. Like, when you look at how Princess responded, she started hallucinating. Who's to say the other guys didn't, maybe not hallucinated, but under the exact same stress and pressure, they might have, who knows what they would have done. That could just be their way of doing it. It's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But if it gets results, it gets results. And like you were saying before about how this world, there's no laws, morals are a grey area. Who makes the rules now?
But you still want trust, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do,
Right,
but-
Liam? Right?
Well, it depends what they want. I mean, if they want, maybe it's a dictatorship type vibe where
Yeah.
the leader just says, let's just see if these guys are dodgy or not. Cool. Yep, they passed the test. This one's a little bit crazy, but yeah, we can work with that. Let's whip them into line. Like, think Negan.
Right.
Who knows? They could be a bad group. I'm not defending them. I think they're pretty dodgy. And
Yeah.
especially after the dude smacked Princess, I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
bayoneted, buddy. But yeah, I'm still on the fence as to whether or not they're the new bad guys.
Interesting, eh? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, like you said, it sort of leaves you with more questions than
Yeah.
it answers.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to wait and see. But yeah, who knows? Definitely not a good way to warm people up to your community if that's the
Yeah.
goal.
Oh, last thought on
Yeah.
that. Because we are coming on to the conclusion of the series with
Yeah.
next thing, I would maybe guess that they're CRM. They're like an outpost of CRM.
Yeah, okay.
And they're just the first sort of look we get in the series. That's kind of my guess. And we've said that before, like
yeah.
guessed it. But I think that's what it might be.
Well, yeah, they've called them Civil Republic military, right, in World Beyond. But initially, at least the rumors that were going around, I thought someone like official confirmed it, was that CRM was supposed to stand for 3 communities, the C being Commonwealth, which would be this community, but who knows? Hey, I think they've thrown that out the window and gone with something
Orgin
else.
los dos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it would make perfect sense. You see a helicopter, and then there's these very organized military guys who you come across. You know, it would make sense that there's a connection somewhere. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. Yeah, I know that at least from the comics, from what I've heard, the Commonwealth storyline, which is this, this new big group that they come across, was quite boring to a lot of people, and they didn't quite like it. So, but then it was very Rick centered, the story. Like, you have to have Rick to do the story that way. So they're gonna have to do it differently anyway. So hopefully they'll sort of take some liberties and really just get creative with it and do something more interesting than the comics. So yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, coming up, we've got next week we've got Diverged, I think it's called, which will be another Daryl Carroll episode, and then Negan after that. So obviously Negan we're definitely looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
Next week's episode, all the people who've like seen it early have been just absolutely ripping into it, hating on it, saying it's like easily the worst episode of the show.
Wait.
The Negan.
Sorry.
No, not the Negan one.
Oh.
Next week, which is Daryl
Oh.
and Carol.
Oh.
Yeah, not Negan. Yeah, Negan one. I think from like one early reviewer said he liked it at least. So.
Is the Daryl and Carol one out now, or is it like just been
No,
streamed?
these are just like press people and some of the like social media organizers and stuff like that from Skybound who get to watch it early. So yeah, I guess all that's to say, go in with low expectations, because I find, if I go in expecting it to be pretty bad, then I'll be happy if it's not as bad as I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
I tend to get more annoyed like
Yeah?
that I'm spending my time like in front of something like I mean watch the surprise flash across my face when I find out that a Carol episode is boring.
Yeah.
Like
Oh no.
I don't know. I'd rather just try and not think about it and be forgiving
Yeah,
than to
sure.
expect that it's going to be
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Hey. Well,
Fair
yeah,
point.
forget everything I said then.
because
Yeah.
standing up for Carol, she's all right when it's part of a much bigger group, when she's with
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
else. But I think when it's her and someone else, whoever that is, it's just a bit of a yawn for me.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, we'll have to see, but yeah. I'll still give
Liam's
it a
excited.
shot, definitely.
Am I though? Am I really excited?
Yeah. But I guess it is the sort of thing where it's like, whatever it is next week, at least we're ending on a bang with Negan, which everyone's looking forward to. So
Are we
yeah.
watching that together next week?
We'll talk about this off air. I'm going to be away on the Monday, so maybe not. But we'll talk about it off air.
Because we could make a thing of that, like
Oh, yeah, true.
basking in the boringness of this episode
True.
together.
All right, yeah, maybe we'll wait and watch it together then. Yeah, that sounds good. Cool. Alrighty. Well, that wraps it up for our review and discussion. We're going to chat for another few minutes and then we're going to go into some exclusive plugged in content.
Wow.
And that is essentially we used to have Patreon, but they took a big chunk of the money, which, no one's a big fan of someone else taking all your money. So we decided to use PayPal and set up our own thing on turnsounds.com. So essentially it's very secure. It's through PayPal. Your money's safe, but it's a way to support us, show your appreciation, and also get some bonus content and have your say on what you'd like to see in the show or hear in the show, I suppose,
Yeah.
for the future. So turnsounds.com if you have any interest in that. We'd love for you to be a part of it. But before we get to that, I was quite enjoying last week's bonus discussion about like good acting moments and things like that. Again, putting you guys on the spot. I need to get a lot better at
Heads
this
up, mate.
and plan out some stuff beforehand. But I suppose, what do you want to do? Cool action scenes, well-made scenes. We could do like good filmmaking, something like that. Any ideas of one of those?
I'm thinking action scenes just because we're used to the whole like gross Walker sort of all that sort of stuff. Action might be a pleasant twist.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, memorable action scenes then, and I do like these in the sense of not having too much time to think about it. So it must be truly memorable if it does
yeah,
pop to
okay.
mind.
I've got one.
Yeah. Cool.
Rick and Carl. I think it's the first time Rick really trusts Carl with a machine gun.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ah,
The fence is coming down at the prison and yeah, that was memorable.
So
I enjoyed
good.
that.
Carl!
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just love the whole way that episode plays out because we've got the flu stuff going on inside and then there's been build up like in the 5 episodes or whatever leading up to it so far of the fences like gradually getting weaker and starting to fall down and it all just goes off at the same time. So yeah.
there is
that's
something
always
cool,
fun.
like you were saying about that, how they were like all coming in this horde, and Rick's quickly like, look, here's safety, here's thing, put the butt on your shoulder, aim the thing,
Yeah.
and off you go. It's like,
Yeah.
and go. So
He's
yeah,
only got 20 seconds to teach him how to use a gun.
yeah.
It's either that or he dies.
Yeah. No, you're right. Hey, very cool. Very cool. Anything that come to mind for you, Isaac?
Yeah, so I think when we watched this episode when it aired, I don't know if you guys were such a fan, but I'll find out.
Okay.
When Alexandria falls, this is when they have to be up all night because Carl, I think, has just lost his eye or like got something in his eye.
Yeah.
A bullet, something.
I've just got a little something in my eye.
Just wash it out with water. But there's this big fight sequence, and you can clearly see they're very tired because they're just out smashing zombies, and it actually gets so repetitive that they actually start turning towards the camera, and the background goes black behind them. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was editing this scene today for my music thing. So,
Okay.
yeah. Very familiar.
There you go. So yeah, I quite liked it. I thought it told a lot of the story. It showed that everyone's so tired.
Mm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool action.
And like unity as well, because right up until that point, there was all the mistrust between Alexandria and then Rick's group, and they were very separate, and a lot of people just didn't like each other and didn't trust each other. But then it takes this one thing for everyone to come together, and all the quick cut, they all just sort of blur together into one force. So yeah, it's cool. Works on a few fronts.
Is that the one where it starts off? So Carl's just been shot, and Rick just goes into that rage, and then everyone else just
Yeah.
follows him out basically to help out because he's
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's just like hiding inside, and you know it's getting to the point where something needs to happen because the doors are breaking down, and it's like we can't just hide in here forever. But yeah, and then it just takes Rick. He just goes out with the axe, going mental, and people see it, and everyone then sort of follows one at a time. And then you get Gabriel, even, and all the people in the church going, "Hey, God's given us the strength to save Alexandria ourselves. We shouldn't just be sitting around waiting for God to do it." So it's like, oh, fuck,
Go,
Gabriel, because he's been all cowardly up until this point. Like, yeah. So,
I got a note on him for a bit later if you want.
yeah, sure.
Otherwise,
I'll go for it now.
because you said you just watched this scene, does Carl take a bullet straight to the eye, or is it like ricochet off something and hit him, or?
I think it kind of goes like to this. It's not like straight in the middle of his head, and
Okay.
it comes out the back. It sort of like goes to the side. So
All right.
I don't. Yeah, I mean this is audio, so I don't know how to explain it, but
I will
Yeah.
attempt.
Okay.
Bullet enters Carl's eye, close to nose.
yeah, well
Exits
said.
Carl's eye area, close to ear.
Yeah.
He's
Before
done
the,
it.
Nicely
done it.
done. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say how you get hit in the softest part of your entire,
Yeah.
where there is no skull, and not die. Okay, so
Absolutely.
that answers that. Cool.
Yeah. there we
Lucky.
go. Lucky boy. yeah.
Well, the boy couldn't shoot straight, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Why did the boy even want to kill him again? Oh, because he killed his father or something.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
so
And it
many
just because
things.
it's a little punk.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
His
Cool.
mum just got eaten too.
Well, yeah, in the moment,
Yeah.
it's like his
Yeah.
whole family's just
Yeah.
died, so
Yeah, pretty
he's
much.
just angry.
That was a shame. I liked that lady. There was a
Yeah.
future there, and I think Rick saw that briefly while she was being eaten. With,
Yeah.
like the flashbacks and stuff.
Definitely.
I liked actually that whole scene where because he had to hack off her hand, which was brutal, but the way they shot it with every slice he'd take or every hack he'd make, I feel like that's a song lyric.
I'll be watching you.
They had like I might be remembering it wrong, but like a red sort of flash, and that sort of memory would
Yeah.
cut out. That was
yeah.
done really well. So every time he did that, he was like hacking away at his own perception of what they would be like together in the future.
Her hand in
Yeah.
marriage.
Oh,
Yeah,
literally.
exactly. But yeah, they just went for it. Hey, like they went. You know, it is a bit out there as far as, you know, a way of editing the scene, but they're like, hey, let's just go for it. Let's
Yeah.
commit to this. So yeah, that was cool. And, you know, it's in the moment. These are like split seconds decision. This is like, you know, he's had his eye on her for a while. They were like getting along really well and flirting and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this is lovely. And now in like 2 seconds, he sees that she's holding on to Carl, so he just goes, nah,
Yeah.
cuts her arm off. It's like, whoa.
Cold as ice.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
crazy. This is a crazy show, man. Yeah, well, as far as like a memorable action scene that popped to mind straight away would be in season 7 when they had the cable tied between the cars and there was a massive herd of walkers and they just drove along and like
Yep.
sliced them all up. It's very silly, but it's fun to watch. Yeah, practicality, Isaac, did that?
Oh, look, I mean, with these things, there's so much that can go wrong, but
Yeah.
they got it right. So,
Yeah, hey, it worked.
Yeah.
I feel like with so many walkers, you just drive forward like 2 meters, and then all the weight and the force of the walkers would just pull the car to a stop. I'm like, oh well, now we're stuck.
Maybe. They're all rotting and old and ready to fall apart. So
Yeah,
The cars would move though, wouldn't they? They wouldn't just.
that's the bit that could go wrong, I would think.
Yeah. Like the weight distribution, the cars would. Blah, 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 blah. You can't really see what I'm doing, you guys.
Yeah,
But
you
the-
pull the frames out of
Yeah.
whack in the car, and
yeah, right, okay, yeah.
because
Although,
even to keep it taut, you'd have to be at the same distance apart and not change.
yeah, so were they like pulling against each other?
Yeah.
Although I think bikers, I've heard, are definitely not a big fan of that, the wire on the side of the road, because people have gotten like sliced up, you know, if you're going at a high speed and fall off your bike
Yeah,
into
I've
one of
heard that.
those instead of like the concrete thing.
Ooh.
So maybe, yeah, they are sharp. There we go.
I
Yeah.
drove tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the governor showdown at the prison as well is another. Well, actually, maybe not as far as an action scene goes. It like
They have a
you
tank.
can classify it as an action scene, and you know it's a fantastic scene, but like the action is, it's okay.
It's just shooting and ducking and shooting and ducking, isn't it?
Pretty much. You get Daryl. He like, remember he like props up the walker in front of him, and then like chucks the grenade down the barrel of the tank, which.
Like, that's not going to
Well,
work, buddy.
Yeah, but it worked for him. So yeah, a few fun things there. Yeah, any others come to mind?
No, what's that song? You know the one that's a really groovy, funky song that they played on the radio from the Kingdom.
The one that you had playing.
Yeah,
here
it's
a
not
while ago?
Say It Loud. It's all right now.
It's
and
all
they
right
go-
now. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Don't they do a whole action sequence to that?
To some extent, it's just sort of clearing out the building. So
Yeah.
yes,
I'd say so.
yeah. I guess that's the thing, hey. So like, if we're talking about cool action, then I can't even remember like what happened, but it was a cool scene because of the song and the way it all played out and stuff like that. So I suppose maybe that's a distinction there. And similar with like the 52 hours montage or whatever it is when there's the waves of walkers that the Whisperers are sending. Like a really cool sequence. But if you know, for action specifically, not much was really happening. It was just stab, stab, stab.
Yeah. I have a respectful, dishonorable mention. If
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, sure.
I wasn't such a fan of the way the action scene was shot for Jesus' demise. So it's in the rain in the
Okay.
cemetery, and it goes to all of these slow motion like shots of him like running up and jumping and stabbing, and it would be fine if the rest of the show had bits like that. But when
Okay.
like that's your only that I can think of, tell me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong here, but pretty sure that's the only action sequence, and it really just screamed out to me, look at all this cool stuff that Jesus is doing. He's about to die.
Yeah. Which probably was part of it. I think that was the actor said, make me look like a badass if I'm going to go. But yeah, you're right. Hey, I mean, in general, I'd agree. I'm not a big fan of slow motion. I remember even when in the hilltop battle, when the all lined up with the barrier and stuff like that, there's a lot of like slow motion and then fast. Like, it's okay, but I'm just not a big fan of it personally. So yeah, that's a good point.
Doesn't really fit the show, does it?
Yeah, maybe not. But I did quite like it in the Jesus scene. Maybe I don't know. This is just rambling. I'm just thinking out loud. But I liked how you're just seeing him so smoothly take out all these walkers. And you've seen a few slow-mo shots. You've seen him do it a whole pile of times now. And you're like, okay, this guy's on top of it. And then he's just casually, you know, he walks over to the rest of the group and he just, you know, is casually killing a couple of other walkers on the side. Way easier than the rest that he's just taken care of. And then it's the last one that then ducks and
Yeah.
stabs him. So I suppose, like, for setting your expectations and making you feel like it's all sorted.
That's Liam's buddy too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the Whisperer guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still so excited that I called that.
Remind the listeners again for us.
So, the start of that episode, we see the group sort of surveying some walkers, acting a little bit weird. And I think Jesus is like, they're just sort of milling around. That's not normal.
Mm.
And right before the intro credits, what do you call it? The intro sequence kicks in. You see one stop, walker start turning around. And it's a little bit questionable. Like, is that a walker? Is it a whisperer? We all know it's a whisperer. But like I was watching, because I rewatched that scene so many times. That whole episode, I watched it countless times just because I loved it that much. But I'm like, I'm convinced that that's the walker that kills Jesus. Well, the whisperer that kills Jesus, just because of the way his he had some sort of looked like a ripped up, I don't know, like a poncho.
Yeah.
Thing.
Oh, it's that poncho.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the same thing that he's wearing. Well, that's what the walker that kills Jesus is wearing. And we had the pleasure of interviewing good old Michael Satrazemis, who directed that episode. And I brought that up, and he's like, yes, that actually is one and the same person. I was very excited about that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I'm pretty sure he said something along the extent of he was waiting for someone to pick up on that too, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he said they weren't the same individual as far as actors go.
No,
because
but it was the same
one was like a
character.
stuntman or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the same outfit and everything. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. that's a nice little
Highlight.
Easter egg there. And it makes you then go back, when you see the start of the episode, you're like, oh, that's the guy, he's going to do it at the end. Very cool. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up there for the regular listeners, who we very much appreciate you tuning in. But going into a little bit of exclusive talk for the Plugged In crew now. So thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week for what's going to be an interesting episode, no matter how it pans out.
Our conversation will be good nonetheless.
Absolutely.
Can we have just quick 5-second predictions
Yeah.
for something that's going to happen in there? I'm going to say my prediction is that at one point Carol drops something important. I'm going to say
Dynamite.
whatever the thing is, she just drops
She
it and
drops.
then
Okay. Oh.
Daryl punches Carol.
oh
Whoa.
maybe,
Yeah, heard it here first.
maybe shoves. Do you want to sub it out for shoves?
Nah.
Not punch. Okay.
Wow.
In the shoulder or square in the forehead? Okay. All right.
Leave it up for interpretation.
All right. Ben.
I don't know. Carol calls Daryl Pookie.
Whoa. I'll be so excited if all those three happen.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm a visual person, so I'm now picturing Carol dropping something, Daryl punching her, and her turning around saying, Pookie, why?
Definitely. All right, well, tune in next week to see how right or wrong we were. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you then.
See ya.